Let's talk about an empire that, by all rights, should have disappeared, but just didn't. It's an incredible story of resilience, reinvention, and what has to be the longest, most drawn-out collapse in history.
When we hear the fall of the Roman Empire, we picture chaos, right? Barbarians at the gates, crumbling ruins, the whole thing. But what if I told you that was really only half the story? The eastern half didn't just hang on, it reinvented itself, becoming this incredible beacon of culture and Christianity. This is the story of the Byzantine Empire.
All right, here's our game plan. We're going to see how this empire managed to survive, dive into one emperor's absolutely audacious dream, find out how it became the center of the known world, unpack its new identity and the problems that came with it, and finally, watch its long, slow end.
So let's travel back in time. It's the 5th century. The Western Roman Empire is, well, it's a total mess. It's being overrun, it's decaying from the inside out. But way over in the East, a completely different story is playing out. The flame of Rome didn't get extinguished, it just moved to a new city. So why did one half make it and the other didn't? Well, it really boiled down to a few major advantages. The East had way more people, a much stronger economy, and its capital, Constantinople, was a fortress. It was almost impossible to conquer. So while the West was just falling apart, the East had all the tools it needed to transform into the powerhouse we now call Byzantium.
And right at the center of this early transformation is this one incredible figure, Emperor Justinian. He gets the throne with a dream so big, so bold, it was almost crazy. He wanted to resurrect the original Roman Empire in all its former glory.
And listen, for him, this wasn't just some political talking point. This was deeply personal. Justinian saw himself as a Roman emperor, plain and simple, and he was dead set on stitching the fractured world back together. He wanted to make the Mediterranean a Roman lake once again.
And you know what? For a brief shining moment, it looked like he was going to pull it off. By 552, his armies had taken back huge territories, including Italy and North Africa. The problem was, these wars were unbelievably expensive. They stretched the empire's bank account to the breaking point. It just wasn't sustainable. And get this, just 3 years after he died, almost all of it was lost again. The dream just vanished.
But here's the thing. Where Justinian's conquests failed, his building project succeeded beyond his wildest dreams. His real, lasting legacy is literally set in stone. He poured insane amounts of money into making Constantinople the greatest city on earth. Palaces, schools, and of course, the stunning Hagia Sophia. He was building a new Rome and making it even better than the old one.
All that construction basically locked in Constantinople's destiny. For the next several centuries, the old saying, "all roads lead to Rome," was out of date. Now, all roads led to Constantinople. It became the undisputed beating heart of global trade.
At its peak, there was just nothing else like it. No other city in Europe could even come close to its size, its wealth, or its pure splendor. And its location was perfect, the bridge between Europe and Asia. It was the essential checkpoint for every important trade route. It really was the center of the known world.
You can just imagine it. A buzzing, cosmopolitan marketplace. The docks would have been packed with ships carrying silk from China, exotic spices from India, furs from Russia, you name it, it came through here. And all the taxes on that trade, it made the empire fabulously wealthy, funding a massive army and a royal court that just dazzled anyone who visited.
This golden age really hit its stride under a new line of emperors, the Macedonians. They brought stability, they pushed the empire's borders out again, and they oversaw this incredible cultural boom. It solidified the city's reputation as the place to be for business, for travel, for pretty much anything.
But here's the twist. As the empire grew and changed, it started to look less and less like its Roman ancestor. It was crafting a brand new identity. And with that new identity came a whole new set of problems.
So the empire wasn't this massive, multicultural, Latin-speaking thing anymore. It had become smaller, more focused. Now it was a deeply Christian, Greek-speaking civilization, with its heartland in what's now Greece and Turkey. This created a really unique culture for sure, but it also started to isolate it from the West.
And this right here, this really gets to the core of the change. In Byzantium, you had the emperor, but he shared the stage with the patriarch, the head of the Eastern Church. But the biggest difference was over religion. The Byzantines believed their patriarch had absolute authority from God, which was a direct challenge to the Pope in Rome, who claimed he was in charge of all Christians. This disagreement was a ticking time bomb.
That growing rift was a sign of what was coming. The very things that made the Byzantine Empire so unique were also planting the seeds of its own destruction. So let's turn to the final chapter, the long, slow collapse.
It wasn't one single event that brought it down. It was more like a series of knockout punches. First, in 1054, that religious argument with the West became a permanent split, the Great Schism. Then, the Seljuk Turks invaded from the east and conquered Asia Minor, which was the empire's main source of food and soldiers. And finally, the ultimate betrayal, the Crusades. Western armies who were supposed to help them ended up sacking Constantinople themselves in 1204. The empire never really recovered from that.
And so, after 1,000 years of survival, of brilliance, of just refusing to die, the empire finally fell in 1453. But for a millennium, it carried the torch. It protected the knowledge and culture of the ancient world, acting as a shining light while Western Europe was navigating the Dark Ages.
The empire may be gone, but its legacy is everywhere, in our laws, our art, and in the Eastern Orthodox faith today. It's a powerful reminder that empires might fall, but their ideas never really die. It makes you wonder, right? What other fallen empires are still shaping our world in ways we don't even notice?